All right, hello. I have a recent subscriber. Her name is Michelle Lemary, and I went to her page to thank her for subscribing to my channel, and I happened to notice she gave me a great idea for a video, which is how I select big cross-stitch patterns. To do that, I guess I could did kind of like the same thing as to how I got started. I started cross-stitching roughly about like 12 to 15 years ago. God knows how actually long ago it was. I was out one day with my ex, and we went to some hobby store to wherever, but we were in a hobby section, and I happened to notice this pattern, and it was a castle with a dragon coming up behind it. Well, it was an island castle with a dragon coming up behind it, and I really liked the pattern. It looked cool, you know. I always, so I thought I'd get it and try it. Well, I got it enough, and I worked it enough to where I realized that I really liked doing it, but sadly, tragedy had struck and the pattern was destroyed. So I went back looking, but I couldn't find that pattern, that original one I went looking for. So eventually I found this other one by a lady named Teresa Wentler, or whatever. And this was actually the pattern that I started my second time around. Now this is roughly about, like I said, at least 12 to 15 years ago. Now, back at the time, I worked in the shops, auto business type stuff, so you know, you get your hands get a grease and an oil that you cannot wash off. So I ended up doing the first attempt at it. The back was like really huge. It was just knots, inexperience, just not knowing what you're doing and just learning everything you got. So it came out pretty bad, and I threw the whole thing away. I wish I would have kept it now just to see what it looked like then compared to what I do now. And then I started it again. Actually, I found the second time I had gone through it again. Now, one of the big things that I do about patterns cross-stitching, and why this one actually took me so long, because it's still not done yet, and it's, like I said, 12 to 15 years, is because I have a tendency to change things. And this is a huge one to get started on. To do as your first one was kind of crazy to do. But now, the biggest problems that I had with this is, first of all, is the wing. I changed the head, I changed the tail, I changed the background from white to a black, and I changed the dragon itself from a pastel blue and green. By the way, the first one I got all this all done. I got dragon. Once I got the dragon's head done, I was hooked for sure. I really loved it. But I didn't like the color scheme, so I changed the dragon to red, and I changed the background to black, and I changed the wings, and I show you the patterns for them now. So this is my first one. This is kind of like my lifelong project. It's probably going to take me forever to do. Now the first things that I changed on it were the foot. And this is the pattern I made for the foot, because the foot has got I doubt if you're going to be able to see it, but I'll try to show you. It has stuff coming off of, like, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, but stuff. I didn't like the tail. So I changed the tail to where it comes up to a point. There's like to a little hook, and I modeled actually my cat Nag's tail after, because she's got a little hook in her tail. So this comes down, and it's much more straight. It's more serpentine tail instead of this big flares that come out the side. So if you'll just imagine that little dark line that comes forward, that's what the new tail looks like. I changed the head, like I said. I took out the ears right there, and I've replaced it with a set of horns that'll come like this. Now this is not done, obviously, and I haven't got the colors in for it, but I will. Then the biggest, hardest part, it took me literally at least 5 years to do, were the wings themselves. Now if you notice the wings, they curl in like this. And that's what I think really screwed me up for all those years, because I couldn't get over that. You know, it was a visual thing. I'm looking at it, and how do I convert them over to what a real wing would look like? And I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. And I was doing a pumpkin carving. And the pumpkin carving was of a bat flying over a pumpkin, and it was kind of rudimentary, very, very vaguish. But it gave me the idea that I needed the true outline of what a wing should look like. And then I used actually my hand as a model, and I came up with this. Now this is I really like the way the design itself is beautiful, and I just love it, and I'm really, really pleased with it. And the problems I had, now Teresa Wentler, she knows how to blend colors, two different color fabrics to make one color. I don't know how to do that, and I tried to do that with my second one, and you can probably see it if I pulled it out, how this came up here. I had tried to do a blending and it just didn't work. So I tend to stick to just one color for each symbol. But when I first did this, I went and I did this whole bottom section here, but when it was all done, you could see the shading of where one color stops and another one stops. There was no blending of the two colors to make it more subtle, shall we say. So I had to go back and I tore all the stitching out and I redid it again I just basically erased this symbol here and put it over there and replaced the symbols, and I just did that switch over for symbols until I got it, a couple days spent worth working on it, and I tried it again and I'll show you, it really came out really, really well, more to what I was looking for. So those are the changes that I've done. I've changed the wing, I've changed the head for the horns instead of the ears that flow off to the side. I've changed the tail to a point, and I basically took the foot and I made it into, it actually looks like a turkey leg. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it came out really, really well. Then eventually, which I can't do on this one because it's just too small, but I was thinking about doing this. This was just a rudimentary sketch of what I'm trying to do to extend the wing out. So instead of it just being one wing up and then the other one come off picture, it'll be both wings. And that's going to be a lifelong project too, to try to get something done like that. So that's the changes that I made. Like I said, now here's the original pattern, and this is what I've done. Now you can see in the wings how everything's blended all in, and this is just the first one here on the bottom, and I'm really pleased with it. Another thing I'd like to point out is, I know you won't be able to see it, but the front of the buildings here, the wall and up in the towers and things like this. Now what I did was I took the two colors that she had to blend them together, and then I took this, which is metallic thread. Now each one of these metallic threads, as you can see, is actually two threads. So what I did is I slowly pulled these two apart until I got them all loose, and I took half of these, half of one thread, and I added it to the blending colors that were at the front of it, and I'd stitched it into there. Now what that does is it creates like a sheen, like a sparkle to it, and it's really, really cool. It's really hard to do. It's painstaking. It's, you gotta be patient with it and stuff, but it's really worth the effort. And I would suggest if anybody's doing that kind of thing, I'm liking it onto like the moon shining off the walls, and it looks really, really, really cool if you see it in person. Okay, now the other projects that I've been working on is I've got this started. Actually, it's right over there, but I won't bother to show it unless maybe I will. But it's called, my ex, when I was with her, she liked carousel horses. So I started this one here, and I got a little ways. I got mostly just the center part up here done, but I've set that off to the side again. I'm not really, I kind of get bored of one project, so I've got like several projects going on at the same time. And with them, I'm actually working on that carousel as a centerpiece, and I was going to use these as to go around it. I've actually started on the green one, but I haven't, like here again, it's back with packed away and all my stuff with the other one. Now, I'm working on, this is another project I started just before Christmas, and I knew I wouldn't have enough time to do it, but I started to do it anyways. It's a sock. I want to change it to my daughter's name, and I really like the pattern, and I got it really cheap, so it worked out well. That's one of my projects. Now this one here, actually, I got this one, my daughter liked it, and I taught her how to cross stitch recently, and this was the pattern that she picked, and I kind of didn't want to let her do it, but I jumped in on a big tough one, so I figured, who am I to say that she can't? Well, she didn't really quite like it too much. I've got what she's got done with it, and it really does look cool, and I think she really did a good job, but there's half stitching in there, and there's just, it jumps all over the place, and it's just too much for her to do, so she puts it down. What I like about this one, though, is this is Joan Elliott, by the way, another great artist. She does a lot of Native American stuff and Asian stuff, as you can see. I'm going to change all these colors here into a satin. Now, satin just came out, really, it didn't just come out, actually. I had a satin, I didn't realize it from my dragon one, because I needed red, and I happened to come across this satin one, not even knowing what it was. But now that they're coming out more and more with more satin stuff, I want to do this one all in satin, except for the face. The face I was going to do in just the cotton colors, because I like that blend